Welcome to the concept of cloud computing. The cloud is divided into two categories mainly. One is based on the type of service it is providing. Based on that, we'll be dividing it into separate category and we'll be considering the place where it runs or how it runs is based on that the deployment model is categorized. So there are two categories of cloud computing. One is deployment model and one is service model. So in deployment model, there are in deployment model, we have public cloud, private cloud, hybrid cloud, and there is also multi-cloud. So as you can also guess, okay, so this public cloud, what is public cloud? So public cloud is that where services are delivered over the public internet and shared among multiple customers. So in public cloud, we anyone can access through internet. It can be any company, it can be any individual, or anyone who is present in internet can communicate with that cloud or access the cloud. Examples of public cloud, we have examples like AWS, okay, sorry, Microsoft Azure. This is Amazon's. This is Azure, and another one is GCP, Google Cloud Platform. So these three are considered public cloud because anyone can access these clouds. So the most popular one is AWS, Amazon Web Services, and these are used, these clouds are used by startups where they want to deploy some web applications or some AI or ML workloads or some scalable system that they want to deploy in these clouds, right? So these clouds, the public cloud is used to deploy all these type of services in public internet accessible place. So this is called public cloud because it is accessible by everyone. And you may know that what is private cloud. This cloud is completely not accessible by the public, but the cloud infrastructure is dedicated to only one organization. Suppose if there is a big company which can afford private cloud, so it will have a private cloud that which is not accessible to anyone except its employees or the that company itself, but no one else outside the company. So this is a private cloud. So this cloud will be generally used by the private clouds will be used by banks, okay, and government organizations or large enterprises with strict compliance rules and regulations, right? So those things, all those people will use private cloud. Public cloud can be used by anyone who pays some premium or some charge amount for that service and they can use it. So what is hybrid cloud? Hybrid cloud is like, it's a combination of private and public cloud. So what happens is that, suppose if there is a company, it wants to store sensitive data in private cloud and uses public cloud for scaling. Suppose there are multiple requirements based on the need. Okay, if there is a company where there is a need of data storage into some private network because it is very sensitive and it should not be exposed to public. So they use private networks, private clouds. Okay, these private cloud, they store only data, but the application is present in public cloud. So it can be scaled into, because the scaling takes a certain cost to the company. So if it is in a public cloud, it will be very uh, sorry, it's very cost effective. So it will be better for them to use public cloud for scaling and other services. But when it is coming to the matter of privacy or data sensitivity, so they have very strict rules that they have to save the data from exposing or getting leak into public network. So they use private cloud for data storage and accessing the application. They use it for they use it through public cloud. So they can make the application and the services deployed in different type of cloud based on their requirement. Such a thing will be used, like private plus public. Private plus public will be considered as hybrid. The best positives of this hybrid okay, I'll talk about the pros and cons at the last, but currently, like, what is a multi-cloud? After that, we'll go for the pros and cons. Multi-cloud is like, using multiple public clouds providers. Okay. When we are using, when a company is there, when an X company is there, it is using multiple public clouds and some private clouds to together to run some application that comes under multi-cloud. Like, it is using multiple type of services at a time. Why it is using multiple services? Because to reduce the dependency. Suppose if there is a X company, so if it is using some Y cloud, okay. So if it is using Y cloud and there is some problem and the Y cloud itself, total cloud network, Y cloud network is totally crashed, okay. So this company will be losing every entire its project and every application, right? So what does companies do is that they host these applications in multi-cloud, like one service in one cloud, another service in another cloud, and it makes them uh, you know scatter all those services into different type of clouds that are available in the market, so that if one cloud goes also, that does not impact them very much. Okay, so they use multiple public cloud service providers, and so they want to avoid the vendor lock-in. Like, they don't want to be dependent on a particular vendor, because suppose if you are depending on only AWS, someday they may charge you some XYZ amount, okay, which may be very costly for us to maintain the application. If it is in that case, right, if you are not completely dependent on AWS, you can migrate to if there is only one service out of 10 services you are providing in your app, only one service is in AWS, then you can easily migrate it to some other cloud service provider, which charges a little bit less compared to the AWS, right? So completely independent, and it will be very flexible for the company to uh, migrate from one cloud to another, or it reduces the dependency of the application or the company completely on the cloud service providers. So this will help in a way for the company in reducing their cost also. Let us discuss about the pros and cons of the clouds. Suppose there is a public cloud, right? So public cloud pros. What are the pros of public cloud? So what is the what is the benefits of what are the benefits that we get from using public transportation? It will be low cost. Okay. cost of that will be very low. Okay. And another thing, another positive that is in public cloud is that you can scale. You know, scaling is what is scaling? Scaling is nothing but based on our requirement, increasing the number of servers. Okay, that's it. And what is and another public cloud's pro positivity is there is no need to maintain any hardware. Hardware maintenance is not needed. So no need to maintain any hardware here. Okay. So this is the benefit of pros of the public cloud. But what are the cons of public cloud? So there will be less control for the company on that service cloud. So the data may be compromised sometimes. The application may be compromised sometimes. It is not it happens, but it is like you don't have the proper control of those network, and you don't have like access to the infrastructure directly. So everything is out of your control. That's it. You don't have the control is very low in public cloud. Another thing is that pros of private cloud. So private cloud is there, right? So what are the pros of private cloud? It is having high security. Like private cloud, private cloud will give you high security and full control over the application that you are running in. But the cons are it is expensive. It requires maintenance. So you have to maintain all the hardware, and you have to yeah. It is a compromise. Like if you want to have your data secure. So for high security, you need to maintain private cloud. So if you are maintaining a private cloud, you have to maintain its hardware. Okay. Yeah. Another thing is hybrid. So hybrid is like, it will be very complex to manage the services because it will be multiple, right? Private cloud, public cloud. So it will be a little bit complex to manage. And coming to multi-cloud, the pros are sorry, I forgot to tell about the pros of the hybrid cloud, right? So the pros of a hybrid cloud is like it is flexible and the cost will be balanced because it is both public and private clouds, right? So then the security also will be there because we'll be mostly protecting the sensitive thing, and we'll for those services where there is no need of that much security necessity, we can place it in the public cloud. So this is what. And coming to the multi-cloud pros, like what are the pros of multi-cloud? So we'll be avoiding the vendor login, like lock-in. So where we don't want to depend on a completely single vendor because he may that vendor may crash, or that vendor may charge you some unreasonable amount, or it will be very demanding from their end that if you are completely dependent on them. So in such scenarios, it is very uh, problematic for any company to depend on one vendor. So instead, we'll be using multiple type of public clouds that are available. So it will reduce our dependency on the vendor. And the cons, like there is more management complexity. So we need to manage more. There are multiple places, multiple services placed in multiple clouds, and you need to always manage what everything is happening, where everything is located and all. We need to manage everything, and it will be a little bit complex. There is another concept of community clouding. Sorry, community cloud. So this community cloud is like two, three, or some organization, one, two. Sorry, it is not one, but more than one of the organization who are having similar kind of requirements in terms of specific interest, like government department sharing secure systems, or hospital sharing healthcare data, banks following same regulation rules that are need to be followed as per RBI. So universities collaborating on researches. So such an where certain organizations which they need certain type of similar frameworks that are to be followed. So those kind of organizations can form a community, and they can have some maintain some cloud together, like community farming type kind of concept, like, but here the community will be coming together to maintain a cloud. So only these companies will be allowed to access these community cloud, and the rest of the outside world will not be able to interact with the community cloud. And another point is that let me clear the screen. Sorry. Before going to service model, I want to just have some concepts of discussion of why we use which one is better, what is the difference between community cloud, hybrid cloud, difference between community cloud and multi-cloud, hybrid cloud versus multi-cloud, all these kind of differences that we'll check. So firstly we'll check for the community cloud versus community cloud. So I did not tell you, I did not mention it here, right? But I'll just mention it here now. Uh, Community cloud, where more than one of the companies come together for their shared interest. Okay, okay, community cloud. So community cloud versus community cloud versus hybrid cloud. So we'll be having, like, comparing what type of cloud is having what type of pros and cons. Like, we'll be comparing multiple cloud models to one another. Okay. So what is community cloud and how it is, who uses this community cloud, who uses the multi hybrid cloud. So as I already told you guys, community cloud is used by multiple similar organizations. Okay. This hybrid cloud, it is single organization only using multiple private and sorry, it will be using private and public cloud. Okay, let me draw here. So here what happens, who uses it? Multiple organizations will be using this, who has similar interest. And who will be using this hybrid cloud? Single organization only will be using single, only one organization. But it will use public plus private. It will use two type of cloud services. Okay. And what is the purpose of community cloud? What will be the purpose? Shared compliance and collaborations. Like, they'll be having, I already told you, right? They'll be having similar framework, or similar rules, or similar type of restrictions. Banks, educational universities, and government offices, you know it can be hospitals sharing healthcare data, all these type of people, organizations, they use community clouds. And hybrid cloud, it can be any company which is having sensitive data on a private one, and and not necessarily sensitive data will be hosted in public cloud. So after these, what is the infrastructure they need? There will infrastructure will be like shared by these organizations only. Like who are the participants in this community? Only those. Like, suppose, for example, the five banks are sharing the cloud, so only those five banks will be having the access to the hardware, but they will be having the obligation to maintain the hardware also. Okay, and coming to hybrid, multiple connected clouds will be there, but there will be like only private cloud will be needed to maintain. Public will not be any necessary. No, we don't need to maintain any hardware here for this, but it will be like partly. And coming to multi-cloud versus, now we'll check for. Let me clear it. And after this, another thing is multi-cloud versus community cloud versus multi-cloud. So what happens here? Similar things, all the pros, all the things that are for community cloud, you are sure, right? But we'll check for the multi-cloud here. Suppose in multi-cloud, there will be only single organization like hybrid cloud also. But the focus will be multiple providers will be there. Here, it will be having, suppose it is AWS, it is in hybrid, single, single company or single user is there. He is having only AWS as a service provider, single service provider. In this only, he is having private one cloud and public cloud. So here the vendor is only one, but the services are two. He is taking private cloud and public cloud both. So he is using a hybrid one. But in multi-cloud, it is like AWS, Azure, and GCP. So all these things will be there here. Like all the cloud service providers that are present in the market can be used by a single company or organization. Okay. So here multiple people will come and maintain multiple clouds together for their common purpose. Here single organization, but multiple cloud service providers. That's it. And the main goal or strategy for this thing will be like, deployment is very strategic in nature, because why I'm saying it is strategic is because they don't want to rely on particular company or a particular vendor. That's the only point. And the deployment approach can be also based on this choice of multi-cloud will also be as a part of a deployment strategies. While we are deploying some application, there may be a need for multiple clouds, or there where the application may not should not be dependent on a particular cloud vendor. So flexibility is there. That's it. Simple to say. Another thing, let me clear again, and another comparison would be, let me take a text here, multi-cloud versus hybrid cloud. Here, multi-cloud versus hybrid cloud. Multi-cloud, okay. So How many users will be there here? Let me type here. Okay. Users. Users. Single user. Single user, right? So in both multi-cloud and hybrid cloud, only single user will be there. Okay. Only single user will be there. And this single user, based on his requirement, he will use multi-cloud or he will use hybrid cloud. Multi-cloud is using same if you are using only public, like Amazon web services public cloud, Azure web services public cloud, GCP web services public cloud. All these public clouds are used by a single user, then it is called multi-cloud. But if a single user is using, it may be of a single vendor only. Suppose it is only of Amazon Web Services only, AWS. So in AWS, if he is using private and public, both services of AWS, so then we can say them as that user as a hybrid cloud. Okay. And this is all these are just to avoid vendor lock-in, to increase flexibility, to decrease maintenance cost, and also to improve the security for certain services where the data is very sensitive. Thank you.